The time to build is upon us.
With great power comes great responsibility.
You know the greatest danger facing us is ourselves, an irrational fear of the unknown.
Not because they are easy, but because they are hard.
This is the Superhuman Academy podcast.
So I was hoping today, I reviewed this stuff, and remember our last conversation was very fun, and
Cool.
I would basically love to play in the sandbox of our minds, and
Cool, man.
also, talk shop, because I think we are interested in a lot of the same sort of things.
Awesome,
I'm turning
dude.
off my little heater over here, so it's not. I don't know if it's making any sound, but
Cool.
does that sound fun to you?
Yeah, man. I mean, I'm kind of curious to see what the sandbox entails, right?
Yeah.
But yeah,
So,
I'm super open.
in case anybody listens to this, I assume some people probably will. Can you give them like a brief intro into the sort of work that you do?
Yeah, so the best way I can break this down is using the science of a flow for post-traumatic growth. The big thing is taking the Power Five, which is also known as non-sleep deep rest. So creative imagery, visualization, mental rehearsal aspects specifically of repetition, but then also using Yoga Nidra, which is just body scanning with your conscious awareness and putting that all into a flow sequence. So going through the 4 phases of flow to achieve a state of being that is post-traumatic. So what is so cool about trauma, even though it's really kind of like a hype word, it's kind of almost used as like a victimized word, very
Yeah.
similar to like what burnout is right now.
Yep.
Even though it is medically considered, obviously through different lenses. Anything that's in the egoic mind is actually considered trauma because there's 30 different definitions of trauma scientifically. So we focus on going through the flow state from taking somebody from an ego state at the beginning, going through the struggle phase, all the way through active recovery. So their state of being shifts just by using different incremental steps through those Power Five, just based off of simple questions, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I would be interested if you want to play in the sandbox. We talked about this last time. Maybe
Right.
going off the beaten path of what you typically do in terms of. I know that my understanding when you're doing clearings and things like that,
Mm-hmm.
you start out with a at least somewhat defined objective, right?
Right.
Yeah. And what I'd be really interested in doing, if you're up for it, is starting without a defined objective and
Cool.
instead exploring how things are wired up in here, what's going on, poking around, and I give you full license. I can draw my own boundaries
Fun.
if needed.
Awesome, dude. I love that.
So are you open to just exploring what's going on in my universe up here?
Dude, the best thing about that, and absolutely, because the 2 things that I know, not only from my research, but also just like working with so many people, is that you can't get past governing laws. Like there's 2 fundamentals, the law of repetition and the law of association. And those 2 literally are universal to all of us. So how we do things consistently is what we do, and then how we associate with the world is how we learn. Right.
Yeah.
So obviously, yeah, man, wherever you want to go, dude. I love, 1, the challenge, 2, the mystery behind it because life is uncertain. So it's like whatever um is the starting point is the starting point, and wherever we go is wherever we go.
Cool. Well, can you just take the lead and then I give you free rein to explore where you'd like?
Yeah. Well, let's start with kind of like a breakdown. Like if there was something outside of like an objective, like if you were looking to say achieve something. So in our work, achievement, desire's result, like desired result being fulfilled, healing to me are all the exact same thing, right?
Mhm.
They're all the exact same thing. So in our work, we just simplify everything, right? So if you were to work on something, right? If there was something that you wanted to explore, and you wanted to be like, hey, I'm starting at point A to get to point B, where would you say that is? Because the brain only derives emotion from context, and that is derived off of influences, and that can get into our level 2. So when I got into kind of my fold this morning, I was like, it would be fun to do like a hybrid level 2, hybrid level 3, because it's not fully structured. We obviously wouldn't have like a crazy amount of time to do a full level 3, but like, what
Yeah,
would you want to work on?
I'm curious about what I don't yet know about myself.
Cool.
And
All right.
so with someone with your experience, because I kind of see what you do as like traveling the neural networks of someone's mind, and you get to see what's wired up to what, and then potentially change the wiring or help somebody to tweak wiring. Um,
Yeah.
is that a fair super summary?
Yeah, well, the fun part too about that, my man, is the practicum just goes down to the window of reconsolidation. So the window of reconsolidation says anything is malleable if we actually have a point of contact. So if it's a memory you're working on, if it's an influence that you're working on, so discovering more about yourself, or something that you don't really know about yourself, you would kind of have to correlate that to something contextual, right? So this is the part where we would have to obviously give, context to our brain, which is somewhat objective, but also at the same time, is there anything that may be influencing you from an emotional standpoint that you want to resolve? Right? Is there anything specifically in your life that is either keeping you at bay in the past because our consciousness is only 0.006% conscious, right? The rest is all subcortical. Is there anything that you specifically want to work on?
I want to keep it in that open realm of I want to see what happens if someone who's experienced in traversing the pathways of the mind
Sure.
um, goes in there and like what can we find together, and maybe we can find some things that are interesting to
Okay.
work on or things that I don't know are there.
Okay. Cool. All right, man. This will be fun. All right.
I kind of think of like my internal world. Think of it like a planet or a landscape or something,
Sure.
and I've explored a lot of it, but I don't actually know. It's less concrete than, like, the actual planet Earth where we've got these satellites and we can see, "Oh, like, hey, there's an area that we haven't necessarily explored." The
Yeah.
internal world is a little more difficult in the sense that I don't know how much of the territory I've mapped because I don't know how big the territory is. And
Yeah.
so to people that just goes to what you're talking about with the association and everything. I have paths that I've walked down many times,
Sure.
but I think it would be helpful to have someone else to help me find, "Oh, there's actually here's a here's a path, or here's a way that you haven't sidestepped before that
Yeah.
you might find something that's off the beaten path, opportunities to create, new pathways or find some that I haven't traversed in a long time, or find those things that might be let's say, taking energy away from me that I don't even know are there, the secret energy
That
drain."
that is huge because this is the reason why I love neuroscience. You just gave the context, so you're like, hey, what could be taking away my energy, right? So if we just go back to the research, before we obviously dive into any practice, like 90 to about 92% of our energy reserves are just being suppressed by the past, right? And our brains, just from our faculty standpoint, can only process 7 units of information in our working memory at any given time. So that's a very thin stretch of bandwidth. And the fun part about this is all that stuff can be like, I like to call it the pinball effect. Once you start at least with like a small objective, that could really go down your own rabbit hole once you obviously get into that space. Because obviously, when you're away from anything of the subjective lens through the senses, that's how deep you can go. And that's the cool part about working with a facilitator that can really kind of contain that space. Then you can traverse that just knowing that you have guided points rather than just being like, hey, I'm just taking like acid or something and then just going for a ride. Because
Right.
there's a lot of people that we sit down. I mean, we had a community call yesterday where we go through what we call directed healing. So you have anywhere from 8 to 12 people focusing on one individual on what they're looking to receive, and everybody's stories afterwards are crazy because
Mm.
they're like in that space focusing on the individual. And this is work done by Lynn McTaggart called The Power of Eight. And everybody, we do like sit around the fire and everybody tell their experience. And it just sounds like everybody's in their own world because they all are.
Mhm. Mhm.
Like it's super, super fun. So yeah, so let's start with just a small bit of like context before we get into the 4 setups, because I'm going to take you through each of the phases too through the 4 setups. Is there any like thing that you're looking for specifically outside of something that you don't know about yourself? Is there anything specific that you are looking for?
I'm looking for the things I don't know to look for.
Cool.
There's your challenge.
Perfect. This is fun. This is fun because usually we just go in, obviously, when people are like, hey, I have a belief, right?
Right.
Or I have an influence, like I have a scale, like where is that from like 0 to 10, blah, 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 blah. Okay, cool, man. All right. And the window of reconsolidation, this is obviously for people that are listening or revert back to that. There's like a small, tiny bit of window from the synaptic gate, right? That the neuron is firing. So once we target that via memory, you can reassign an associative meaning, and that's going to change the structure of the emotional charge. Cool.
Mhm.
Is there anything bothering you right now, like in life? Is there anything that's like got you somewhat up in arms?
At this moment, right now in the present? No.
Cool. This will be even more fun too, because usually when we work with people, usually somebody's got something going on.
I'm trying to
Mm.
challenge you here.
I love it, bro. I love the hot seat. Dude, literally, I appreciate that because I was on a call last week where I was like, I appreciate being challenged because usually, we're going through somebody's coming to us with something.
Yeah.
So now if you're in that free landscape, we're just gonna take you through the 4 setups and then we're gonna drop you in and see exactly where your brain goes.
Yeah, let's see what
Cool.
happens. Yeah,
All right, man. You all set?
I'm ready.
Perfect. So just go ahead and find a solid place. We call this integrity through the spine. So just sit wherever you feel most comfortable. And then go ahead. You already got those eyes closed. So keep those eyes closed for the duration of this session. And we are going to have some fun with this. So, first things first, man, we are going to go through the 4 setups. And this is what I like to call the mood composure, really kind of setting you up for the entirety of the session before you pretty much open up to whatever's possible. So, all you have to do to really set yourself up is dial in a time. You can go into the future or you can go into your past, one or the other, your choice of a time where you were in flow, right? You're kind of dialed in the zone, right? Literally in essentially control of your environment. Everything was just flowing to you. Things were just perfectly aligned. You could go to a time in your past, or you could pick a future version of yourself that can dial in that flow. Do you want to go in the past, or do you want to pick a different version of yourself? Which would you prefer?
I have a I have a past experience
Okay,
that I
cool.
can use.
So let's build out that context here. What is happening in this memory? What is happening in this time? Where are you? Who are you? What are the attributes? What are those things that make you in that flow state? What are those things
Yeah,
about this experience?
I'm in my office. I often drop into flow with writing, and this
Okay.
is one of the more recent and deep cases of that. It's probably a year ago, um, and yeah, I had, I don't know, like 3 different windows open. One was like drafting, one was a refinement document, one was my like research, basically. And I was just having so many epiphanies and connections. Um,
Perfect.
and it was like I couldn't type fast enough. Um, yeah, everything was just connecting, and this was over the course. There was probably a solid week where it was like every day, all day. It was
Nice.
just totally locked in, and there was um, a ton of understanding which I had in my body that was finally becoming articulated and something that I could communicate in words. Yeah, it was probably one of the most intense experiences of that like transfer from subconscious knowing to the ability to consciously articulate.
Huge. Awesome. So trace that and just live in that. Just be in that space and take your time. You're going to hear me say this a lot through a process of flow. Anytime we trace our memory, which is super, super fascinating, we've known this since the 50s, you mimic that brainwave state when you adopt things in the future or you go back to a time frame. So literally just go to that space and just saturate yourself. Just live in that space. Relive and feel that. And stay here for as long as you need. What you're really focusing on is connecting, almost mirroring that specific time frame as if that is right now. You will also hear me say this, don't force it, don't rush it. And when you feel dialed in, when you feel in the zone, when you feel completely connected to that time frame as if that is you right now, you go ahead and let me know, okay?
Okay.
Got it?
Yep.
Perfect. Now we're going to move into the second setup. This is what I like to call the bioenergetic breath work. So this is really setting the tone for the entirety of the session with just your breath. So all you have to do is just follow my lead. We're going to go through this sequence for 4 rounds. After that 4th round, I'm going to pass the sequence over to you for you to find your own flow with it, okay?
Okay.
Perfect. So I'm going to count you down in 3, 2, 1. Go ahead, take a 5-second inhale through the nose. Hold for 5 seconds. Full and complete exhale. Like you're going to exhale all the way out. Full expression of the lungs. Go as deep as you can. Perfect. Beautiful work, my man. 5-second inhale through the nose. Hold at the top for 5 seconds. Full and complete exhale. And as you exhale, completely release the body. Hold on to nothing all the way down. Full expression of the lungs. Beautiful work. Beautiful work. 5-second inhale through the nose. Hold for 5 seconds. Full and complete exhale. All the way out. Complete expression of the lungs. Go as deep as you can go. Let go of everything. Perfect. 5-second inhale through the nose. Hold for 5 seconds. Full and complete exhale. All the way out. Complete letting go of anything in the body. Perfect. Beautiful. Now take over that same sequence, and you're going to go through as many rounds as you need, finding a nice rhythm for you. And you're going to pay attention to two things. You're going to pay attention to your shoulders dropping when there's a disconnect from that heightened state of arousal. We drop our shoulders, which indicates the mind and body are connecting. But most importantly here, you're breathing for peace. Peace on the maps of consciousness scale is a liberated state of being. So pay attention to that feeling of peace just wash over you. And take your time here, my man. Don't force it. Don't rush it. Take all the time you need.
Okay.
Got it? Perfect. Now, in that state of being, moving in to that third setup, we're going to dial in what I like to call the mental sanctuary before we fully drop you in to a color sequencing. I want you to go to a place, and this could be completely made up. It could be a place that you've been to before. It could be a place that you may want to go. But in your mind's eye, start to create a place that represents 4 of the highest emotional frequencies that we know. Represents wholeness, love, freedom, but most importantly, there's a deep sense of peace. Really build that out for yourself. This could be, like I said, a forest. It could be a lake house. I get really, really fun with it. I create my own planet. I like to go completely off grid with it. Go to a place that represents those 4 highest emotional frequencies. And when you got it, let me know, okay?
Okay.
Got it?
Yep.
Beautiful. Where are we at? Where did you
It's
go?
it is a combination of childhood lake house we went to sometimes. It's a Pebble Beach at the Sea of Galilee. It's a um, fictitious library. Yeah, it's several places all in one.
Huge. That sounds fun. That sounds fun. So you got this amalgamated place. Now immerse yourself as if you are there right now. If you have to span and kind of move through different landscapes with your mind simultaneously, or you bounce from one place or the other. But as you're doing this, get those senses involved. What can you see? What can you hear? What can you smell? What can you feel through that sense of touch? What can you possibly taste? Maybe you're rolling around with, I don't know, some coffee or a drink. Really live out that space. Make this place your home. And as you're doing that, break this stuff down for me so we can get a little bit of context for the audience. What are your senses telling you about this place?
Yeah, kind of bouncing all over, but I've got one of the dominant ones is the experience of kind of looking up into the sky, but with eyes closed towards the sunshine. So it's like the back of my eyelids are red. I can see the blood, basically, and feeling the warmth on my face from the sun.
Okay.
There's the feeling of like smooth rocks under my feet. I really like the feeling of like a sun-warmed stone. That's
Okay.
very smooth by the elements and time and people walking on it and all of that. So I can feel that. So there's like pebbles and there's these bigger stones. I feel a sun-warmed stone. Um, and there's a slight breeze, pleasant, not too cold. Um, I smell a combination of like mud, water, salt, and old books.
Nice.
Um, what else? Yeah, there's also like I'm not, I have difficulty accessing like taste, but there's this,
Sure.
um, maybe it'd be more akin to like the sense of like when you've eaten enough, but not too much, and there's like this satisfied feel. It's
Hmm.
kind of a combination of taste and like, I don't know, just bodily feeling.
Sure.
Um, yeah, and I'm simultaneously accessing the feeling of like being wrapped up in a blanket in a warm room and being outside and like almost sitting on like a beach chair type of thing. And
Yeah.
somehow those two things are overlapping, even though they're
Nice.
almost opposite.
Sure. Well, it sounds extremely peaceful. So stay in this place. Traverse this landscape for as long as you feel is necessary for you to feel at home. And play in this space, however long it takes. Time is an illusionary construct. So have fun here. Once you feel that inner knowingness of home, go ahead and let me know.
Okay.
Got it?
Got it.
Perfect. Now, paying attention to first impression, what color and or colors first come to mind to anchor you into that beautiful place?
Blue and yellow.
Blue and yellow? Perfect. Awesome, man. So go ahead, dominant hand, place that right over that heart space. You can follow through with that second hand if you need some further support or feel called to. But go ahead and take 4 deep breaths of that blue and yellow right into that heart space. Allowing that blue and yellow to pierce through, crack through, and also sift through any barriers, any defenses, any walls that may be getting in the way of you connecting to that space. And really have fun here as you flow with these colors. on that fourth breath, as you pierce through, allow that blue and that yellow to just pour into your being. Allow your conscious awareness to fill in the entirety of that heart with that blue and yellow, almost as if you are turning both faucets on, the left and the right. The left opens up that blue, the right pours out that yellow, and just see that heart space incrementally fill up, almost as if it's a cup. Seeing that incremental change, that shift in buoyancy, as that heart space fills completely, allow those colors to overflow. And with your conscious awareness, allow that blue and yellow to just kind of trickle down over that heart space, spill over, and kind of track those colors dripping down kind of into the torso, filling out into the lungs. And as that yellow and blue get into the lungs, just stay here for a few minutes and just breathe those colors into that space, allowing each breath to expand more and more with each breath, filling out those lungs. And as those lungs fill and become filled, allow that blue and yellow to expand outside of the lungs, filling out the totality of the rib cage and also the bottom portion of the diaphragm. And just like a kid would color in, allow your conscious awareness to fill in the color, the entirety of the sternum, and track your awareness all the way up, coloring the entirety of the chest, shoulder to shoulder with that blue and yellow. Allow with your conscious awareness to expand those colors to the top of your head. And once you get to the top of the head, have fun here. Allow your conscious awareness to flow with those colors from the top of your head all the way down the body, past the shoulders, past the chest, down through the hips, all the way to fill out the thighs, past the knees, all the way down to the tips of the toes. And once you're at the tips of the toes, just flow all the way back up with your conscious awareness, all the way back up the body, past the knees, past the hips. And you're going to go to the tops of the shoulders. And from that point, you're going to spread your awareness with those colors to fill out each arms, to meet each set of fingertips, going through one full cycle of color sequencing. The power behind this is using that Yoga Nidra body scanning sequence with the associated power behind the color. Once you've gone through one cycle, you're going to go through 50 to 52 repetitions. That is how many reps it takes for the associated meaning behind each color to fully imprint into the cellular matrix. And yellow represents joy, your optimism. It's also the color of intellect, healthy communication. It's also the color of attention, your friendship, patience, and self-control. You have this beautiful, beautiful mix with the blue, which is the color of tranquility, serenity, devotion, wisdom, intuition, loyalty, empathy, and depth. So flood that body as many times as you feel until you are whole. You're at one, and you're home with those two colors. Take your time. Don't force it. Don't rush it.
Okay.
Got it?
Yep.
Beautiful. So now in this state, what is popping up for you?
Yeah, I got a strong connection back to memories of early spring in my childhood home,
Okay.
and yeah, playing outside, exploring in the woods,
Perfect.
rollerblading.
Is this a cluster of memories, or is this like one
Yeah,
thing specific?
it's kind of the cluster, but it was a repeated experience.
Okay.
I mean, so typically around the month of May, school would be wrapping up. Winter would be finally letting go, and there's here in Indiana, and I'm sure in other places, there's a very specific um, experience of springtime. Like the air smells a very particular way. Um, things are growing in a particular way. Yeah. So that was and always has been my favorite time of year. But I have very tangible memories of that year after year as a kid that are coming up.
Perfect. Is there any age that pops up?
Um, probably like, I don't know. I want to say like 10, maybe
Perfect.
right around there.
Got it. So 10-year-old version of Colin is literally outside. He's playing during the springtime. He's rollerblading. Is there anything specifically that comes up that has a negative association to this memory?
Yeah. In the memory, there's no one around.
Okay.
Like it's as if the planet is completely empty except for me.
Got it.
And there's a twinge of loneliness associated with that.
Perfect. And you preempted my next question. This is perfect. So that 10-year-old version of Colin, as you go through this, being the observer, watching that sequence of events, feeling that sense of loneliness, observing his patterns, his behaviors, his feelings, right? His sensations, his emotions, possibly his beliefs, without absorbing his state of mind because you are him, but you are not him simultaneously. Allow him to fully express anything that may be on his heart, maybe be on his head, on his mind, on his chest, anywhere in his body, anything that has been left unexpressed. If he were to have a microphone right now and you got to be center stage and watching him, and he has the opportunity to say anything besides loneliness, what else would he say about this experience? And take your time, man.
Yeah, it's less words, honestly. It's almost like the feeling associated with when there's, the frustration associated with not being able to put something into words.
Sure.
Um, yeah, it's like that sense of frustrated helplessness.
Yeah.
Um,
Huge. And you're doing awesome, man. Here, as these expressions come up for him, pay attention if loneliness, frustration, a sense of helplessness, if any of that arises anywhere in the body.
yeah, definitely.
Got it.
Yeah,
Where is that?
just above the heart space.
Perfect.
Yeah, there's a how do I describe that? I, I describe it as pent up. Uh,
Okay. And that feeling just above the heart space, is that inside the body? Is it outside the body, or is it both?
it's inside. Yeah.
Okay.
There's also like a radiating feeling down the arms, especially through the hands and the index and middle fingers.
Got it.
And I see/feel the experience of knocking on doors and then having no response.
Got it. Is that in the memory, or is that a feeling associated to the body?
It's sort of in the memory.
Okay.
I don't know if it's an actual memory or not, but
Sure.
it's almost like a flicker.
Sure. And this is what's beautiful is that we know that 50% of the context that we make up as things traverse memories really are associated to the sensations, the feelings, or emotions. So as you pay attention, as things start to liberate with your attention, that notion of knocking on the doors, that pent up feeling associated to loneliness, frustration, that helplessness, paying attention to just that statement of knocking on doors and no one's answering. What sensations, feelings, emotions, statements, or even possible beliefs come up from that alone?
I would label a feeling of resignation, which physically I experience as a kind of dropping of the head and shoulders and um, a sinking feeling in my between my heart and my stomach. Um, there's like a belief of this is not how things are supposed to be.
Mm.
Um,
That's huge.
yeah, there's a combination like this. It's like a two-sided belief almost. Like one half of it's outward, one half of it's inward. Half of it outward is like something like people are oblivious, they're missing out, they're um, like hiding away, and then the other half is like I'm stuck in the right place, which is a weird comp.
Sure.
Like I'm stuck in the right place, but no one else is out here.
Yeah. Huge, man. Beautiful part about the brain not deciphering a justification between the emotion is that whether you feel stuck, it doesn't matter if it's right or if it's wrong. The brain can't decipher what that actually is. So that feeling associated to it is something that always is benefited from being expressed. So you got a lot moving here. So still dial in, still paying attention to that memory, that pensive upness that's kind of radiating down the arms, possibly moving into different compartments of the body. Kind of that notion of knocking on doors and nobody's answering. And this 10-year-old version of Colin, he's feeling that sense of loneliness, this frustration, this helplessness, that sinking feeling that's literally from the heart space going down into the stomach, a sense of resignation, this judgment on this belief that this is not how things are supposed to be. And he has this notion that he's hiding, but also that he's stuck. Whether right or wrong, there's that stuckness. Now, giving him that freedom, that autonomy, what are any last words, anything else popping up, any other sensations, feelings, emotions, or statements coming up for him in this moment?
Yeah, I'm not gonna do this, but he wants
Sure.
yeah, he wants to scream at the sky and um, use a lot of profanity.
Sure. Absolutely. And allow him that space and pay attention to anything else that arises within the system. And using the holographic principle, if there's any fragment of any sensation, feeling, emotion, statement, or any charge left within the memory, it represents the whole. So we want to go for the whole enchilada here. Nothing left unexpressed. Anything else that he feels that he needs to express at this moment, allow him to do so.
Well, he just took a battering ram to a door and
Okay.
um, got into the house only to find it empty. And then
Mm,
that was a secondary triggering of the same response.
sure. Beautiful work here. And only he knows. And through your observation, when he is fully expressed, when he has everything out, everything off his heart, his mind, his head, his chest, go ahead and let me know.
Okay.
Beautiful work. Beautiful work. Now you ready to have some more fun in this process?
Yeah, let's do it.
Beautiful. So we are going to move into the creative support. We're going to couple that with what I love to call central focus in the Rolodex of the mind. So now all you have to do is just create within your imagination a giant black hole. And you want that to sit safely above you. You want that black hole to stretch beyond you and behind you. You don't want anything out in front of you. It's almost kind of like you want a giant galactic safety net. And now in holonomic brain theory, one of the greatest advantageous components of your imagination within black holes is the gravitational pull that it has from anything, specifically in the system. So make that perfect for you, above you, behind you, and beyond you. And once you have that perfect for your preference, you go ahead and let me know, okay?
But not in front of me.
Not in front of you. Yep, we don't want to pull on any heartstrings.
Okay.
Got it?
Yeah.
Perfect. So the brain just went through a huge energy dump by going through that experience, going through that memory. So you want to kind of cool it off to kind of bring you deeper back in to that state of ease. So all you have to do with this central focus is just follow my lead with this guidance. And then once you're dialed in to a more relaxed state, we're going to go through the Rolodex of the mind and pinpoint how to extract anything that's popped up. So all you have to do, follow my lead. You're going to place your awareness right at the center point in between your two eyes, right at like the bridge of your nose, in between your eyebrows, and you're going to keep your awareness there. And then you're going to allow your awareness to dissipate and give back to that open space, that open blackness. Beautiful work. Now you're going to bring your awareness, your conscious awareness, to the center point in between your two ears, right in the middle of your head. And now allow your awareness to dissipate, go back to that blackness, open up to that 0 point field. Beautiful work here. Now, one last sequence. You're going to place your awareness, your conscious awareness on the top, the crown of your head. And you're going to keep your awareness there. And we're going to call upon spirit, the ever knowing superconscious that knows every single detail that has been recorded throughout your life. And we're going to ask that Rolodex of the mind, how many different younger past versions and variation of Colin has ever felt loneliness, frustration, helplessness, any sense of resignation, any feeling of sinking, any pent up frustration, judgment, especially this belief that this is not how things are supposed to be, any sense of hiding, stuck, and any anger. You're going to hold that awareness. You're going to allow spirit to consolidate and locate. And first impression, how many younger past versions and variations of Colin did spirit locate?
112.
112. Huge. Now, this is where we get to have fun collapsing eternal time down in to the present moment. So you're going to invite all those 112 versions into your being, however you see fit. You can throw a party, you can send out a mass text, you can have fun, but you want to consolidate them down. All of those fragmented versions of you spread across space-time and time-space and consolidate them down into the present you, making you one. And take your time with this. It's going to be a little bit challenging. It's the first time you're doing it, but you're crushing it so far. Just invite them back home. And what does this process look like for you?
I'm getting glimpses, flashes of a bunch of different memories that
Huge.
I haven't consciously thought of in a long time.
There we go.
Just I've got I've got experience from 5th grade when I was dressed up like Teddy Roosevelt for a wax museum.
There you go. There you go.
I've got um, I've got first day of track practice, and I think I was, I don't know, sophomore in high school, something like that. Um, Running through the hallways because it was too cold to run outside. Bunch of other ones.
Huge. And take your time with this. Have fun with this. What's beautiful about consolidating the mind is that right before we get to the release phase here on this process, you're consolidating all these fragmented versions into oneness for a full expansion upon release of all of those pent up sensations, feelings, emotions, and beliefs. So take your time here. Once you have 112, those 112 versions of you locked into present you, current you, you go ahead and let me know. Have as much fun as you need to, explore as you see fit. Beautiful work here, man. Love the patience, love the diligence. Take all the time you need. Never force this, never rush it.
Okay.
Got it?
I think there's still something, but I'm not finding it. And
Sure.
I feel pretty satisfied with where I'm at.
Beautiful. Not a problem. Beautiful. So now as we tap in to that space, you're going to remember that support system that you built with that black hole. This process, the quantum forgiveness, is literally releasing all of that to that higher power, that higher force. So now with your conscious awareness, with your presence, with your diligence, any sensation, any feeling, any emotion that is related to loneliness, frustration, helplessness, any pent up resignation, any feeling of sinking, judgment, hiding, feeling stuck, anger, and this notion of this is not how things are supposed to be. Any of those that arise sensationally throughout the body, you're going to place your conscious awareness on those parts of the body, and you're going to allow that black hole to track your awareness to that location, and it's going to extract, remove, strip, and pull all of those sensations, feelings, and emotions from those areas. This can get really, really tricky. This is where you kind of lock in, really focus. And you really want to start and focus on that heart space where everything originated. But as things move, just place your awareness, allow that black hole to track your awareness, extract, remove, strip, and pull. You're not doing anything other than paying attention to what arises, placing your awareness, and allowing the black hole to do the heavy lifting for you. As things extract from the field, you're also going to pay attention to anything around your body as well, clearing out any stagnation specifically in your field. Some of these extractions can look very unique. Some say it looks like smoke, like shards of glass. A lot of people have this feeling of like almost like this like motor oil substance kind of coming out, almost like a symbiote. Some people say fire comes out. But allowing your being to let go of these lower two density sensations, feelings, and emotions and literally giving it over to that black hole. And take your time here because things move. Really lock in. Any fragment left around or back, any fragment, shard, piece left over represents the whole. So really dial in here. And also overstretch your conscious awareness, even if it's like a slight twinge. Don't leave anything unturned. Even if it feels weird or if it doesn't feel resonant, just literally allow that black hole to literally take over. Placing your awareness on anything that arises within or around the system. And don't force this. Don't rush this. What do those fragments, what does that look like to you? What's popping up?
And it's almost like mm, I don't remember what movie this is from. It's one of the X-Men movies. Have you seen the one where like Wolverine is walking toward, I think it's Phoenix or something, and like his skin is just like peeling off and regrowing and peeling off?
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, basically
Cool.
that. That's what I'm getting.
I love it.
Yeah, haven't thought about that in years either. It's funny activation there.
And take your time with this, man.
Also, just
Each
getting
piece.
a feeling of like celebration now. Like
Huge.
it's kind of like bunch of people throwing garbage into a bonfire.
Cool. And you're doing awesome, man. Take all the necessary time that you need. You know your body better than anybody else, making sure every last bit, piece, fragment, shard is completely removed from the system. And notice any lightness, any buoyancy, any vibrancy coming back to the system simultaneously. You are in the full totality of the release phase in the flow cycle. Surrendering essentially any lower density sensations, feelings, and emotions to a higher gravitational pull. There we go. I was waiting for one of those.
Kind of half yawn and half face stretch. Yeah.
There it is. People tend to be sweating a lot during these processes. A lot of yawning. That's usually how I release. These are just mechanisms of reoxygenating the body.
Okay. What's next?
Yeah, beautiful. So hold that vibe for just a few moments. And now, what color and/or color comes to mind to fill out where those extractions used to be?
Got red and brown.
Nice. Colors of power and colors of stability. So same vibe as we did when we started, just dominant hand right over that heart space. You can feel, if you feel called to support it with the second, just go ahead and breathe in that red and brown. We're not going to go to the full extent of the color sequencing here, but breathe that red and brown into that space and allow those colors to fill out wherever those extractions used to be, any gaps, any holes, any cracks, any crevices. Essentially filling out the spiritual interstitial fluid with those colors. And fill yourself up with totality here. You have a super, super awesome combo because red represents your vitality, the power, passion, the strength, courage. It's also your color of ambition, your excitement, and your prestige. You have that really, really harmonized with brown, which is the color of stability. Any earth tone brings durability, wholeness, which is the nervous system's ultimate goal in all occasions. Also represents groundedness, endurance, support, reliability, and a very unique thing about brown is tradition. And the same rule applies 50 to 52 repetitions for those associations, those energy marks, those emotions assigned to those colors to stick. But take your time. Once you feel at home, you feel whole, and you feel one, can slowly open your eyes, reemerge, and come back to a newly minted 3D reality. Take all the time you need, man. What's going on, man?
That's intense.
Yeah, and I love it, man. And not to, obviously, go into full extent, but that was literally only about 2/3 of the entire sequence. So I blended in a little bit of level 2 and
Yeah.
level 3 and just did it inverted and just modified it just on the fly.
Nice.
So usually we would start with an objective, and then we'd go obviously to a clearance barometer, so we could just kind of see where you're at. And then there would be an imprint phase, just be the law of consciousness to be like, okay, well, what's coming up for you? What do you want to cement? And then we would build out a perceptual framework, which is just your conscious integration to just make sure all this stuff is solidified. Because other than that, sounds great and dandy. You could have an amazing experience. Could be a lot of release charges, but you also want to make sure that you're solidifying it with integration because that's a critical piece, obviously, to the window of reconsolidation. But yeah, man, give us a little bit of love and light on what happened in your experience. That was cool, man. That was cool. It was cool to be in that space with you.
It was cool. I had several experiences there that are very different from what I've had. I mean, I've done a ton of stuff in the same conceptual universe as this. I ran a lot of things similar to this, but there were a few key points that stood out to me that were profound. One of them was when you had me shift from like the third eye space, like back with the black hole background of
Yeah.
that. Like I had a really deep, I don't know how else to describe it, like dropping in experience with that shift. Like,
Yeah.
here. That was intense. And I think it was from that space that you had, I don't know, I don't even remember what you did or what you said at that point, but when I was, like, I don't know that I've ever had that much of a deluge of, like, memory. Like, it was across my entire life up
Yeah.
until now, and I was just a lot of memories I hadn't thought of in years,
Yeah.
flashing through really quickly.
I
I
love
don't
what
know.
you're saying. I love what you're saying
Yeah.
here because that process is called the Rolodex of the mind. Because obviously we use the
Yeah,
analogy.
it was funny.
Yep.
You said that,
Yeah.
and
Yep. I just got chills,
I
man, because this is why I love doing this, and I'm so thankful to fucking God's spirit because I don't know how I came up with this shit. This is just like through my own traverse, like obviously, copious amounts of experimentation on just the landscape of doing this type of stuff. Obviously, also psychedelics, like those played a huge role in like how would I want to do this endogenously? But what we found within our research, especially over the last like 4 years, is that just one of these sessions, and especially if you went through like a full 90-minute clip, like the full embodiment of the thing, um, it's literally about 6 months of meditation. Because when you're meditating, it's not absence of mindedness, you're concentrated. But when you're concentrated, everything from your past is trying to catch your attention. But when you're clearing all these scaffolding, essentially all these things that are folding in, you literally are doing all this clearing at hyperspeed, right?
Mhm.
And then when we build out the level 2 clearings for people, that's just like their buffering. That's like getting your oil change, right? Or
Sure.
that's like getting your tweaking alignment so people can stay consistent with it. But the level 3 modifications are literally the heavy hitter. So just seeing where you were at, because that's what's beautiful. And what I love about this being a recording is that we started with no objective.
Right,
Right,
yeah.
because each experience, whether we think, right, because we can't rely on our own understanding, we can try to, but that's not how polarity and duality work. Every positive experience that we have always has some form of flip side of the coin, right? Because the way that you painted the memory sounded, oh my gosh, this is Pleasantville, right? It's the
Mhm.
springtime. This dude is rollerblading. He's having a good time. And I was like, dude, look at the laundry list of all the things that were happening. That's what makes this stuff so powerful. It allows people to be transparent and authentic with themselves. So, yeah, man, kudos to you because especially not knowing where this is going to go, fully trusting in this in yourself, that just shows how much work you've done on yourself. And this is what people are really afraid of. It's really just letting go of what their preconceived identity notions are so people can allow help to crack through and get that work done. It's just at
Yeah.
hyperspeed, which is fun.
Yeah, it was really cool, like, you said Rolodex, and it was like, "Okay, whatever," but then then having the memories go that quickly, and then it was, like, 2/3 of the way through that process, I remembered you saying Rolodex, and I was like, "Oh, shoot," that actually was very much like it was, like,
That's
going through,
awesome, dude.
like, flip book, but
Yeah.
I wasn't attempting to do anything, I was just letting it
Yeah.
do its thing. That was cool, and then, yeah, it was interesting with the a few things came up very spontaneously, um, like that memory, the spring repetition memory, whatever.
Yeah.
I definitely wasn't reaching for it, I wasn't thinking about it, like, that came up very naturally from those colors. It just popped up, that was really cool, and then the 112, that one took me by surprise.
Right.
Where the heck did that number come from? I was like, "Okay,
Yeah.
that's what came up real strong," and I even, like,
Yeah.
poked at it. I was like, "Alright, I'm gonna just throw out another number, like, 85," and I was like, "No, that didn't work." It was like, "Oh,
Bro,
let's see."
dude, I gotta interject here. This is why I love the science behind it because people can go through this process and they can be like, oh, this is just kind of woo woo shit. And I'm like, actually, the process, that first impression language, when it came up super, super strong, a group of neuroscientists in the early 90s in Princeton found first impression language within a tenth of a second all the way up to 7 seconds. That first impression is the truth because your body
That's
can't
very strong.
fundamentally lie. So it's, dude, I love that you said that because it just validates not only just the research, but also just the practicum itself. Because some people, they question that stuff all the time. And it's like, no, go with what is first.
Yeah, and I was intentionally pushing back, and I was like, "Okay,
That's
the
awesome.
112 came so fast and really strong," and then I was like, "Alright," I just started, like, pitching other numbers, using my more conscious brain, like, "Alright, well, what if I throw out this?" And then it was like, "Nah." Like,
Yeah,
56? No. 82? No. 85? No. I was like, "Okay, cool.
that's
Alright,
cool,
well."
man. That's awesome. I
That
love
was
that.
fun. That was fun to see. Um, yeah, really powerful. I appreciate that, and,
Absolutely, man.
got a lot out of that.
I love it. I love it, man. Well, I would be remiss as a practitioner to be like, hey, once you get out of that flow, because the flow is obviously the process. Like on the emotional scale, you were within quantum forgiveness. There would be a couple of more segmented pieces of techniques that would carry you through flow because you'd be re-imaging a holographic image between you and that 10-year-old.
Mhm.
But you kind of like obviously with time purposes and whatnot. But like the fourth phase of flow, this is when you get out of it. Just whenever you're done here, just make sure that you're doing something to restore and recoup yourself, right? Whether that's
Yeah, for
grounding,
sure.
eating something nutritious, or just hydrating, especially. Obviously, I'd be remiss as a practitioner to not tell you to take care of yourself after this because usually when people I obviously can tell that you've done enough work, but some people that come in that are super nuanced to this, they can sometimes feel like they got hit by a Mack truck. So,
Yeah, I can see that.
yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Solid stuff, man. Man, I was expecting that, we might end up going back and forth a little bit, but that took up more than our full time.
Yeah.
So,
Yep. Yeah, for sure.
yeah, yeah, I noticed stay in touch, and
Cool.
I think we could have a lot of fun talking shop too. Maybe we'll record another one or something, and we can
Dude, that would
go
be great.
into more of the background of a lot of this stuff. But
That would be
anything
awesome.
else that you want to share with anyone who might be listening?
Just have fun with this stuff. Like what we did is really built this all on fun. Like if you can't have fun doing something, like the shadow work, the inner work, whatever flavor you want to spice on it or put on it, it becomes this agonizing, arduous process. Like
Mhm.
some people have this perspective that healing has to be this like, long dredged out thing. And it's like, I was not cool with that. I was like, fuck that notion. Like, we're going to have fun with this. That's the reason why those cues are so important. So yeah, when I tell people that when you're approaching the inner landscape of who you think you are, first off, know that you're not who you think you are. You're an amalgamation of a bunch of shit that happened before you even had a sense of self. And just have fun peeling back because you learn more when you unlearn. And when you can do it in a cool place, especially with what we do here, you just have a dope set of people that are in the same boat as you. So yeah, just have fun doing this stuff.
And if people want to find you, find what you do, learn more, where should they go?
Yeah, so Kyle Anthony Trautmann on Facebook. I'm very thankful to be back in the fold. I just recovered from a brain injury. I had a near severance medial prefrontal cortex. So I went through like a two-year like healing process. So that was its own thing. But yeah, Kyle Anthony Trautmann on Facebook, at Kyle A. Trautmann on Instagram. You can also find us at www.highvibepolynomics.com to get kind of the gist of everything that we do for also student enrollment. But yeah, just reach out and yeah, ask questions.
Amazing. Thank you. This was awesome.
Always, dude. Thank you.
The Superhuman Academy podcast is hosted by Colin Jewett and designed and edited by Army Cinco, with original music by Joshua Schunig and voiceovers by Corey Page Schunig. That's me. You can find past episodes and resources, as well as access to the ever-growing Superhuman Academy community at superhumanacademy.com. If you like the show, don't forget to subscribe and leave us a review on your podcast platform of choice.